Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he will meet President Donald Trump on Sunday to discuss territory and security guarantees. Meanwhile, Moscow sentences a Russian diplomat to 12 years for passing secrets to U.S. intelligence. President Trump announced a powerful and deadly strike targeting the ISIS terrorist group in northwest Nigeria on Christmas. A Pentagon spokesperson told the Epoch Times that the Nigerian government approved the strikes. The Pentagon warns lawmakers that the Chinese Communist Party is posturing its military to use AI and long-range missiles to force expansionist claims. We have takeaways from the Pentagon's yearly report. A major storm is heading toward the northeast this weekend. Forecasters say heavy snow and ice will hit the region today into Saturday. 15 people injured in a knife attack at a rubber factory in Japan. The assailant was wearing a mask. We bring you the latest.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he plans to meet with President Trump this weekend to discuss a peace proposal. He says his team has prepared the first drafts of several documents.
We have a broad agenda. It will be ready by the weekend. And I think that on Sunday, we will have a meeting with President Trump in Florida. We will discuss these documents, as I said, security guarantees. There are several documents in this block, and it would be desirable to find an opportunity to discuss them all. Next is the economic agreement, which is still in the early stages, although there will be several agreements, and here we need to discuss the direction.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said the plan is almost ready, and territorial issues will also be discussed. Zelensky said a lot could be decided before the new year and hopes European leaders can join the meeting online as well. A day earlier, Zelensky held talks with Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff and the president's son-in-law Jared Kushner. The Ukrainian president says they had a good conversation and discussed good ideas for ending the war. Dialogue with the Trump administration on ending the war. According to the Kremlin, a foreign policy aide spoke to U.S. officials by phone after receiving U.S. peace proposals earlier. A Kremlin spokesman said he did not want to comment on the proposals, as Russia felt making public remarks could undermine the negotiations. A former Russian diplomat will spend 12 years in a maximum security penal colony. Federal Security Service says Konovalov was an employee of the Russian Foreign Ministry. The agency says he sold secrets to U.S. intelligence while on post in America. It did not say what information was passed and to which U.S. agency. There was no immediate comment from U.S. agencies. Every year, the Pentagon reports to lawmakers on the state of China's military. This year's report, released this week, warns of the regime's nuclear ambitions and the use of AI and long-range missiles. NTD's Melina Weisskopf has the takeaways.
The U.S. defense apparatus keeps a keen eye on its number one adversary, the Chinese Communist Party. A new report reiterates that China is posturing its military to assert control over Taiwan as early as 2027. Analysts predict the use of long-range missiles are key to imposing an anti-access strategy. That's a strategy in which the regime could try to force expansionist claims and use missiles to deter outside forces from intervening. As for the use of AI, analysts say the CCP is studying the Russia-Ukraine war to determine how to use AI in warfare. But analysts predict it's still developing capabilities to implement this intelligentized strategy. Chinese tech companies have stockpiled computer chips and use shell companies to skirt recently enacted U.S. export controls. But the report notes several vulnerabilities in the regime's military, mainly due to corruption and equipment failures. The Pentagon states that corruption-related investigations have led to the removal of dozens of general officers. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
Now to Japan, where emergency services were seen at a rubber factory in the city of Mishima after reports of a stabbing attack. 15 people were injured after a man stabbed several with a knife at the factory in central Japan. According to the public broadcaster NHK, an unspecified liquid was also sprayed during the attack, which happened at Yokohama Rubber Factory. A man who was wearing what appears to be a gas mask was arrested at the scene by police on suspicion of attempted murder. Among the injured, 8 were stabbed with a knife, and 6 others are believed to have had a liquid poured on them. And a major storm is heading toward the northeast this weekend. Forecasters say heavy snow and ice will hit the region today into Saturday. Here's more.
More than 23 million people are under winter storm warnings. Some areas may get between 5 and 9 inches of snow. New York City could see its largest snowfall since 2022. The city's mayor issued a warning saying New Yorkers should prepare for hazardous conditions during a busy holiday travel period. The storm could affect some of the nation's busiest travel hubs, including international airports and interstate highways. Other areas affected include the Philadelphia metro, as well as parts of Connecticut and New Jersey. Authorities say drivers should slow down, plan for extra travel time, and check local alerts.
A federal judge has temporarily blocked the Trump administration from detaining and deporting a British activist. Here's more.
Imran Ahmed is the CEO of the Center for Countering Digital Hate. He is among those recently subjected to visa restrictions by the State Department for alleged censorship. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced the visa bans on Tuesday while condemning the EU's Digital Services Act. US officials also criticized proceedings under that law against social media platform X, calling it censorship. Ahmed sued the Trump administration on Wednesday, arguing that the sanctions were political retaliation and violated the First Amendment. A State Department spokesperson said the Supreme Court and Congress have made it clear that the US is under no obligation to allow foreign aliens to reside in the country. The judge has set a hearing on the case for December 29th.
President Trump announced on social media yesterday that the U.S. has targeted the ISIS terror group with missile strikes in northwest Nigeria. Trump wrote that the terrorists have been viciously killing primarily innocent Christians at levels not seen for many years. The Department of War posted a video on social media showing the missile launch from a military vessel. The U.S. military's Africa Command said the strike was carried out at the request of Nigerian authorities. In a statement, Nigeria's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said it will continue to cooperate with partners like the U.S. in addressing the threat of terrorism. In a post on X, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth thanked the Nigerian government for its support and cooperation and added, quote, "more to come." And in Turkey, the Istanbul police detained 115 suspected ISIS members yesterday. The chief prosecutor's office said they were planning to carry out attacks on Christmas and New Year celebrations in the country. Police seized firearms, ammunition, and organizational documents following 124 raids across Istanbul. This follows a deadly New Year's attack that ISIS carried out 8 years ago at Istanbul's Reyna nightclub. President Trump announced a powerful and deadly strike targeting the ISIS terrorist group in northwest Nigeria yesterday. Joining us to discuss is Taylor Hathorn, visiting fellow at the Independent Women's Forum Center for American Safety and Security. So Taylor, good afternoon to you. Hope you had a good Christmas holiday. So I want to ask you about this situation. The U.S. and the Nigerian government working together in this operation, and a Pentagon spokesperson told the Epoch Times that the Nigerian government approved the strikes. And as well, President Trump, right, he said previously he had warned these terrorists that if they did not stop the slaughtering of Christians, there would be consequences. So what is your reaction to these strikes?
Well, Secretary Hegseth said it best when he said that this is not the beginning of war. It is a declaration of vengeance. And I think that that shows a lot about where the United States military and diplomatic posture is at this point. You know, we had 2 service members plus an interpreter and a civilian that were killed by ISIS about a week ago now, whose families are now spending Christmas alone and without them because of Islamic extremism throughout the world. And I think that this just puts those extremists on notice that regardless of what continent they're on, that if you threaten American citizens and their lives and people with our shared values, that we will come for you, regardless of whether it's Christmas or not.
How much do you think does this change the landscape in terms of making Nigeria a safer place for Christians?
There are 220 million people in Nigeria, very large population of both Christian and Muslims whose threats or whose lives are at threat every day because of the Fulani militias there, as well as ISIS and other Islamic State terrorist actors. And so I really think whether or not it becomes a safer place for Christians and Muslims as a whole is up to the Nigerian leadership and the government. The president there has said that targeting groups of any religion of any kind is not conducive with their culture and their values as the country of Nigeria. But I really believe that it's up to the Nigerian leadership, not the United States, to decide whether this is going to be a safer place for Christians and Muslims alike.
All right, but through this action and the moral framing of the strike, you know, as an effort to counter violence against Christians, what would you say it tells us about some of the priorities of this administration?
I believe this is twofold. I've had this conversation with several people, and yes, the president has been clear that ISIS and any other Islamic State actors that are targeting Christian groups in Nigeria will be sought after and hunted down. But I think that this is a little bit deeper than that for the administration. I really think that this is about rooting out the rot of Islamic extremism throughout the world, and the fact that ISIS is involved in Nigeria gives the United States an opportunity to let these terrorists know that we can come after them wherever they are. I believe that this is a really good messaging point for the administration, for evangelical voters in the Republican Party and throughout the United States. And so I believe that the Trump administration is using this as a means to show that they are supportive of Christians throughout the world and supportive of cultures who share our democratic values. But I think that we as people that study foreign policy need to look at this a little bit deeper about what the root cause of this is. We don't target people who target Christians throughout the world. We're look at Myanmar. We're not looking at places like that and target and going to go save those Christians. So I think that we really need to look at what the deeper cause of this is, and it really is about Islamic extremism throughout the world and the thousands of deaths that ISIS and other Islamic groups have caused against Americans and against those who share our values throughout the world.
How prevalent is radical Islam in Africa?
It's very prevalent. Over 55% of the deaths that are happening in Nigeria are actually happening from the Fulani militias, which are primarily radical extremists. And so it's happening a lot. And whether I can say, I don't know the data to tell you whether or not they're only targeting Christians. I think that you can see anecdotal stories everywhere that they're targeting Muslims too. So I think this is a deeper rot about extremism taking over and not just necessarily about one religion or another. And so I think we need to be really careful when we're analyzing policy issues like this, looking at the root cause of these issues. I fully support the strikes that happened, that the administration carried out. I think it's a great thing for Nigerians, and I think it's a great thing for us and anyone who's battling against ISIS and Islamic terror groups to let them know that we're still watching them and that we can come and get them on any area of the world. But I would be careful to caution people to think that this is just the United States protecting Christians around the world, because it is much, much deeper than that.
And Taylor, as well, can I ask you, in your view, how much of a deterrence effect could this have against other groups committing similar actions in the continent?
My hope would be that it has a strong deterrence effect, that when they see that the president of the United States is unpredictable. And so when the leader of the United States is unpredictable and feared to her enemies, that they will second guess and think twice about whether or not they commit acts of terror. If it's easy to cross our border, if it's easy to commit acts of terror, if it's easy to conduct these networks around the world, then it's going to be easy for them to carry out these strikes. The New York Times actually did a really interesting article about where all of the ISIS attacks happened throughout the world and the prevalence of them. And I strongly encourage people to go look at that and Google it, because it's not just happening, in Europe or in America. It's happening all over the Middle East. And there are so many people, Muslims too, who are dramatically affected by the rise of Islamic extremism. And it's something that needs to be rooted out. Can't the world, any kind of extremism, especially extremism that leads to violence, is something that people who respect the rule of law, who value democratic values, it's not something that we can have congruent with our society and with the modern world. So I think that this is really important that we all step back and look at, this is not just Americans being targeted. It's truly not just Christians being targeted. I'm a strong person of faith myself, but this is a cancer that needs to be rooted out throughout the world, and it's happening everywhere.
Okay, Taylor, just one final question. And I want to ask you how you think about this strike and how the U.S. will be viewed on the global stage by both allies and adversaries.
I think that you're going to have people who are all over the board about this. President Trump has been very clear that he campaigned against being someone who's the president of peace, who leads through strength. And I think the far left is going to use this as an opportunity to say, but he's bombing people. How can you bomb people if you're a president of peace? But the president is leading through strength. And sometimes that means making hard decisions that those of us who are in the room when the decisions are happening don't always understand. But there is a big, big global network of very, very bad things that happen around the world that Americans in particular are not knowledgeable of and aware of, because we live in this very egocentric, ethnocentric borders of our country, and we think that it can't get us here. But I think that you have seen throughout history, look at 9/11, look at Pearl Harbor, it can come and get you here. And so the president is doing the president's job in making sure Americans are safe and secure. And so I would hope that this leads to a response from our adversaries, that we haven't let our foot off the gas like we had the last 4 years in the prior administration, where they really let, the rule of law kind of be thrown out the window. When you allow anywhere between 12 and 20 million unvetted people to come in through this country and risk the sanctity and security of American citizens and our way of life, because you have no idea who is coming in this country, you can't tell me that our adversaries did not utilize those horrendous policies to bring people into the United States to seek to do us harm. So I think we need to be thinking about this on a broader scale. Yes, this is happening in Africa, but the ideology and the extremism that is leading these people to commit these acts of terror in Nigeria can easily and has easily filtered throughout the rest of the world. And it is the president's job to make sure that that is rooted out and stays very far away from the United States. And he and the administration are doing just that.
Okay, well, Taylor, great comments from you as always. And I think we won't see you again until 2026. So let me wish you Happy New Year. Thank you.
You as well. Thank you.
The FBI is investigating the theft of a major lobster shipment bound for locations in Illinois and Minnesota. It's reportedly worth $400,000. So find out more about this after the break.
That truly matters for each and every one of us. This is what you've been waiting for. See it at least once in your lifetime. Shen Yun. Get tickets now. ShenYun.com.
You are not hidden. There's never been a moment you were forgotten. You are not hopeless. Though you have been broken, your innocence stolen. I hear your SOS, your SOS. I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you.
On streets across America, young people are homeless, abused, in danger. Covenant House is helping young people with nowhere else to turn. But the need is overwhelming. Please call or go online now with your gift of $19 a month. You'll help provide hot meals, safe shelter, medical care, and love to more than 2,000 young people who sleep at a Covenant House every night. Homeless young people are afraid and alone. Your monthly donation right now will show them they are loved and safe.
I have no words to express how Covenant House changed my life.
Call or go online now and give just $19 a month. We'll send you this comforting blanket as a reminder of the difference you're making in a young person's life. Call or go online now to safeplacetosleep.org.
Shop Mathis Home and save during the annual clearance event for huge discounts on all the latest styles. Here's a great value. This sofa from Ashley is a bestseller. It's just $4.99 and comes with 2 accent pillows. Upgrade to Motion with this sofa that has plush pillow top arms and 2 recliners built in. Clearance priced at just $7.99. They're in stock now with fast free delivery. For the best value, come to the annual clearance event at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
The FBI is investigating the theft of a major lobster shipment bound for locations in Illinois and Minnesota. The live lobsters were reportedly worth $400,000 and were on their way to various Costco locations. Fox Chicago says the shipment was picked up in Massachusetts but never reached its destination. An Indiana-based logistics corporation called Rexing Companies was in charge of the shipment. The company's CEO says he thinks the robbery might have been part of an organized cargo theft ring targeting high-value foods. The FBI has not yet announced any arrests in connection with the incident. Back in September, the Department of Transportation warned about a rise in cargo theft. The DOT says such robberies cost the economy billions of dollars every year. Now to Southern California, where a powerful storm system brought record rainfall this week, triggering widespread flash flooding and mudslides. Residents in the mountain town of Wrightwood experienced flooding in burn scar areas that forecasters warned were less able to absorb water.
I woke up at 8 a.m. with a phone call from my dad saying that the firefighters had just rescued him. And I said, from what? And he said, from 2 feet of water in my apartment.
And then at some point I decided that the cats that were still here, because Granddad got rescued but the cats did not, I wanted to come and help them out because I wasn't confident that they were going to live. So I came down here, hiked here about 1.5 miles from my house in the rain, trenched through all of this stuff and got the cats out one at a time. Unfortunately, they all live. They're all okay. Just a little bit scared, but yeah, they're still fine.
Southern California typically gets ½ inch to 1 inch of rain this time of year, but many areas could see between 4 and 8 inches. The severe weather is expected to ease today, but parts of Southern California still face flooding. Further north, forecasters warn of avalanches near Lake Tahoe, and waves in the San Francisco Bay Area could reach 25 feet.
Everything was flooded. It was insane.
Californians reeling from another day of brutal, deadly weather. Torrential rain triggering floodwaters that made roads treacherous and in many cases impassable. Thunderstorms and punishing winds causing damage across the state. In other areas, feet of snow also impacting travel. In Wrightwood, northeast of Los Angeles, authorities issued an evacuation warning Thursday due to mud and debris flows.
We're approaching 10 inches for the Wrightwood area. Widespread flooding throughout the community.
Emergency crews pulling people from flooded cars and homes.
A number of rescues were performed throughout the day. Water rescues from vehicles traveling onto flooded roadways. We had people that were trapped in their houses.
The massive scope of the flooding still visible hours after the water receded. Cars and homes encased in silt, mud, and sand the floodwaters left behind. Some homes buried nearly up to the windows and rafters. Elsewhere in the state, authorities say a Sacramento sheriff's deputy was killed after crashing on a wet roadway while driving to work.
Fortunately, in this line of work, we deal a lot with the dangers in the line of duty. This is a little more unique because it's one of those freak accidents simply on his way to work.
A lucky Powerball ticket holder in Arkansas has matched all 6 numbers in Wednesday's drawing and has won an estimated $1.8 billion jackpot. That's the second largest in U.S. lottery history. The winning ticket was sold at a Murphy USA gas station in Cabot, Arkansas, a suburb of Little Rock. The winner's identity could remain a mystery for some time. Arkansas allows lottery winners to remain anonymous. However, their name will become public after 3 years. A Christmas gem is found in the heart of Washington, D.C. The annual downtown holiday market has become a local holiday favorite, offering a festive place for the whole family. NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley has more.
Been looking for a lap.
Here at the holiday market in downtown Washington, D.C., the spirit of the holidays and Christmas is kept alive. It's a great turnout here, hundreds of people passing through.
It's pretty nice. I didn't think there would be this many niche things for people.
Getting hot chocolate.
Oh, the hot chocolate's fantastic, but it is $10, but for the price that you pay, I think it is worth it. Pretty good. It is pretty good.
Every winter, the downtown D.C. holiday market pops up in a festive winter village. Twinkling lights, seasonal cheer, local music, and dozens of different food options make this a perfect Christmas market for the whole family. Over 100 local artisans flock to the holiday market to showcase and sell their work. Many of the crafts are handmade and from family-owned businesses.
We are growing lavender and we are making our candles, pillow and body sprays, soap bars and body butters.
I've been doing it for 12 years now. Very exciting to be here every year. I wait for this every year actually, to meet a lot of people, to the atmosphere of the holidays is good. I love it.
It's incredible. It's our 5th year, if I recall. It's one of the most amazing holiday markets I've ever done. The environment here is all about the food and the experience, and it's an atmosphere that recalls for German holiday markets.
This holiday market is one of the best holiday markets I've ever personally been to. It's a couple of different holiday markets, one in the city, like up in DuPont, but this one is like super, super great. Today in the whole market, we're displaying our grand dumplings. This is our grand dumpling. We also have a miso coconut cream sauce as well that goes with it. And it's not as cold as people would think, because when you're back here making food, it gets really warm quick. So it is just, the music is great, and family environment, kids running around, it just kind of like restores that holiday cheer, especially in a time where it's kind of trying times right now. So it's really good to see everybody out and like enjoying themselves.
At one point, the power went out, but that didn't stop this band from jamming out. A few minutes later, the power came back on and the crowd cheered with excitement.
It was warm, actually, surprisingly. The crowd was good. The electricity was in the air, so it's a good time for the holidays. And people have been in the holiday spirit, playing holiday music. It just helps with everything. It helps with the energy. And I think right now, in the time, the state of the world is in, we need more energy like this.
Strolling along the holiday market, you may find some other treasures. Russian dolls and Christmas tree ornaments, socks with dozens of different breeds of dogs on them, scented candles, and a ring toss. It's harder than it looks.
It's very Christmassy. Yeah, it's really bright. Everyone looks pretty happy. Everyone looks like in the spirits.
It's really cute, really festive. It's really great to see local vendors and just good vibes.
And just down the street, Santa Claus making an appearance, playing Christmas music. The spirit of Christmas and the holiday season is kept alive here at the Holiday Market in downtown Washington, D.C. This yearly tradition is bringing friends, loved ones, family members together to do something very nice for each other during this holiday season. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Jack Bradley, NTD News.
For the coming year, Japan's cabinet approves a record defense budget plan exceeding 9 trillion yen. That's about 58 billion US dollars. More news after this break.
Where did the time go? Somehow I lost all those years. Where did the time go? I don't know how I got here. Or how did I get here? I can see now.
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
I was a quarterback at Hardaway High School, college first-round draft pick, on and off the field. We were taught to not show any signs of weakness. During the football season, I would stop eating. But I didn't know I was depressed. I thought that something was wrong with me. For 20 plus years was physical. We didn't have any education behind what mental health was. I started to learn it starts here first. If this is together, I'll be better as a father, as a man, and as a husband. Put the importance on your mental health. I'm not scared to talk about it anymore. The first tool is therapy. The second one is positive self-talk. And then journaling, putting your thoughts on paper. We have to redefine what being a strong man is and heal, love your mind.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear. Call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha, 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 ha.
See, Smokey thinks I'm funny.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies. Because when people are fed, futures are nourished. And with your help, together we can end hunger. Join the movement at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
My graduation was something I will never forget. People like you and me sometimes may have doubts in yourself, but I feel that everything's possible.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Japan's cabinet today approved a record defense budget plan for the coming fiscal year. The $58 billion budget aims to boost defense capabilities as tensions with China increase. Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi said in November that her country's military could get involved if China were to take action against Taiwan. The spending increase marks the fourth year in Japan's 5-year program to double defense spending to 2% of GDP. Under U.S. pressure, Japan's pledge to reach the 2% mark will arrive 2 years earlier than planned. Japan also plans to revise its security and defense policy by December 2026 to further strengthen its military. Pardon me. The current strategy names China as the country's biggest strategic challenge. It also calls for a more offensive role for Japan's self-defense force under its security alliance with the U.S. Over in Israel, 2 people were killed and 2 more injured when a Palestinian man went on a car ramming and stabbing attack. Israeli authorities are responding. The attack began this afternoon in northern Israel city. The Palestinian man crashed his vehicle into people, killing one man and injuring a teenage boy. He sped onto a highway where he fatally stabbed a young woman and injured another person. The attacker was shot and wounded by a civilian at the scene and taken to the hospital. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz said the attacker came from a town in the West Bank. Katz ordered the military to conduct a raid on the city to thwart any further attacks. The military said it conducted a precise operational search at the residence of the attacker and was preparing to demolish the residence. Christians in Lebanon and Syria celebrated Christmas even as military clashes continue in both countries, and Christians in other parts of the Middle East celebrated the birth of Jesus as well. NTD's Jason Perry has the story.
A priest in Lebanon rang the church bells on Christmas Day in the ancient city of Tyre. The church service continues as tension lingers in southern Lebanon between Israel and the Iran-backed Hezbollah terrorist group.
Today, I ask Jesus Christ to strengthen us in our faith and in our land, because this land is truly sacred. It was visited by Jesus Christ, our Mother, the Virgin Mary, and St. Paul.
Thank God we are here in our church celebrating the birth of Jesus. God willing, may this Christmas spread throughout all of Lebanon and bring peace to every part of the country.
Meanwhile, in Syria, a Christmas parade was held in the biblical city of Damascus as members of Syria's security forces stood guard in front of the churches. Some local residents shared their thoughts as there are still some concerns for safety.
This year, thank God, it's better than last year. Holidays are held normally, and people are relieved to some extent, and things are better by God's will. We hope that the Lord will intercede for us and this country and maintain this peace.
We hope that security returns to Syria and that Syria stabilizes and becomes free and belongs to all its people and all its components. This is what we wish for. We hope for Jesus Christ to help us and lead us to the peace in our country, Syria.
Also in the Middle East, in the city of Jerusalem, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu wished Christians around the world a Merry Christmas, and he said Christians can celebrate openly in Israel without any fear.
In Jerusalem, the city municipality every year officially distributes Christmas trees. It's been doing so for 2 decades. By contrast, a few days ago, in the Palestinian town of Jenin, Palestinians burnt a Christmas tree in the Holy Redeemer Church. That's the difference. Israel stands up for Christians across the region, wherever they face widespread intimidation and persecution.
And in the West Bank, in the city of Bethlehem, people from around the world gathered at the entrance of the Nativity Church before midnight mass on Christmas Eve.
I'm just so grateful. It's such a blessing to be here and to be able to attend this midnight mass here in Bethlehem. I honestly can't even believe I'm here. It's such a blessing.
Jason Perry, NTD News.
A cry at Christmas in China this year as the Chinese regime tightened restrictions on religious gatherings, public celebrations, and even seasonal decorations. House churches in several provinces said planned Christmas services were blocked by state security officials. Universities warned students against public celebrations or social media posts related to Christmas, and police in Shanghai detained people participating in spontaneous street activities. Interviewees who spoke to the Epoch Times said religious activity related to Christmas was largely limited to officially sanctioned venues. In recent years, local governments have repeatedly emphasized that Christmas celebrations should not expand outward, not be amplified, and not be promoted. Brazil's former president Jair Bolsonaro has endorsed his son's presidential bid. Here are the details.
Brazil's former president Jair Bolsonaro endorsed his son Flávio's 2026 presidential bid on Thursday. In a statement, which was read out by Flávio, the former president nominated his son as a pre-candidate for the presidency. The statement said it was a legitimate decision, driven by a desire to represent those who supported him, and he entrusted his son with the mission of rescuing Brazil.
de resgatar o nosso Brasil.
Flavio Bolsonaro said he wants to consolidate his father's conservative legacy at the October 4 vote. He will try to unseat leftist President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. The senator confirmed this month that his father supports his 2026 presidential bid. The announcement shook financial markets as investors had expected the former president to support a more experienced candidate. On Thursday, the 70-year-old former president underwent a scheduled hernia operation that doctors said went smoothly. For the surgery, he was allowed to leave prison, where he is serving a 27-year sentence for plotting a coup. Bolsonaro is expected to stay in the hospital for 5 to 7 days.
An abuse of power conviction for Malaysia's ex-prime minister, Najib Razak. He has been sentenced to 15 years in jail. Here's what his lawyer had to say.
I'm looking forward for this case to go to the Court of Appeal because every single point the judge had dealt with has been dealt with in a manner where our cross-examination of the witnesses, where our defense have not been examined by the judge.
This is the biggest trial yet in a multi-billion-dollar scandal surrounding one Malaysian development company called Berhad. It's a company Najib co-founded in 2009 while he was premier. A judge sentenced Najib to 15 years in prison on each of the 4 counts of abuse of power. He also got 5 years in prison for each of the 21 charges of money laundering. All will be served concurrently. Investigators say at least $4 billion was stolen from one MDB. More than $1 billion allegedly made its way to accounts linked to Najib. He has been in prison since 2022 on another conviction involving one MDB. He has denied any wrongdoing. South Korea's investigation into the Jeju air crash that killed 179 people is set to miss a 1-year deadline for a progress report. Frustrated relatives of the victims continue to demand answers about what went wrong. Here are the details.
42-year-old Yoo Kum-ji held a one-person protest in Seoul on Wednesday. It's her way of demanding answers on South Korea's investigation into the Jeju air crash that killed 179 people. Yoo lost both of her parents in the crash.
It feels like all kinds of doubts are just growing bigger and bigger. In the meantime, a year has gone by, and it feels like the frustration is only continuing to build.
On December 29, 2024, the Boeing 737-800 made an emergency belly landing at Muan Airport. It overshot the runway, slammed into a concrete embankment, and erupted into a fireball. Days before its first anniversary, 2 officials of the country's Accident Investigation Board said they will not be in a position to release the interim update. Both officials declined to be identified. In a preliminary report in January, investigators said both of the plane's engines had sustained bird strikes. While in July, investigators said that the pilot shut off the less damaged engine after the bird strike. Family members of the victims said investigators appeared to blame the pilots without exploring other factors. They pointed at the concrete structure beyond the end of the runway that likely made the disaster far more deadly.
All we want is for authorities to admit they were wrong if they did wrong, and apologize. Apology and a proper disclosure of the truth, which is to find out the true cause of the crash. That is what we want.
On December 1st, Yoo joined other victims' families in protest. They shaved their heads and rallied in front of the presidential office. A transport ministry official told bereaved family members this month that it would examine their concerns. South Korea's parliament will launch an independent probe into the crash on Tuesday.
The much-anticipated 2026 World Tour of Shen Yun Performing Arts has begun. We bring you the latest from California after this break.
Imagine a coffee that cares for your health. Expertly fermented with a 50-enzyme complex to enhance flavor and remove bitterness. Small batch roasted to a decadent medium dark. resulting in a brew that is gentle on digestion, low acid, and up to 90% less caffeine than regular coffee. Try America's first enzyme fermented coffee today.
Buying and selling a home can be really hard these days. That's why who you work with matters. I recently helped a couple buy their dream home even before selling their current one. They were both very busy and didn't have time to sell the traditional way. HomeLight's Buy Before You Sell program was a game changer. They were able to buy and sell on their own schedule. It was so easy and they were thrilled. See how you can buy before you sell at homelight.com today.
There's a whirlwind of emotion and activity going on in this painting. And there's chaos all around and threat from below. The walls surrounding her, and they're anything but unmoved. They're moving all the time, and we sense that. But this little girl remains unmoved.
She's in quite a perilous situation, but she's completely strong and serene, and she's actually meditating. It was very, very well liked because no matter what culture or what sort of walk of life you're from, I think people, they see it and they immediately understand what that energy, what that message is, and they're drawn to it because everybody kind of needs a little bit of that in their own life, of, you know, the steadfast calmness and something to hold on to. It's definitely an inner peace in the midst of something very chaotic, and for a lot of people right now, the whole world is very, very chaotic. So I guess that's another reason why so many people are very drawn to this.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
The much-anticipated 2026 World Tour of Shen Yun Performing Arts has begun. On Wednesday, theater-goers in California took their families to experience the classical Chinese dance and music performances as a Christmas gift. David Lam has what audience members said about the experience, and NTD is a proud media sponsor of Shen Yun.
Shen Yun Performing Arts is celebrating its 20th anniversary tour, and that's 2 decades of inspiring the hearts and minds of people globally. Its first stop in the North America tour is in San Jose, California. Let's take a look.
I get just the beauty and the flow and the art, and yeah, one of the most beautiful things I've seen.
I absolutely loved it. It exceeded my expectations. It's a wonderful time of year to experience it, and I brought my mom with me, and she loved it too. So it's wonderful to be here.
They're flying through the air. It's amazing. Very acrobatic and very entertaining to watch.
Fantastic, excellent, and I didn't expect to be so emotionally and spiritually moved by it.
Shen Yun currently has 8 different companies and was founded in New York. Its mission, reviving genuine traditional culture through art and music.
At one point, I actually got teary-eyed, because it was just so touching. Just the storylines, just really, really nice.
It's a life-changing experience. And so I absolutely feel honored to be here and have the privilege of seeing people demonstrating their culture with dance, a lot of stamina and the hard work from these dancers and the musicians.
Very beautiful and touching. A lot of it was just touched me personally, for sure.
Doing it through the medium of dance and the performances, I think is a way to reach people that otherwise probably would never be reached.
Audience members saw 5,000 years of China's divinely inspired culture.
Very motivational, very positive, very uplifting, very happy. I'm very happy right now.
If you are trying to get back in touch with your creator, whoever that might be, this is a great way to do it, to reflect and, realize that we all have a creator, and someday we will be back with that creator. Yes.
Traditional Chinese culture, if it's represented by this, it should be preserved, and I'm glad that Shen Yun exists and are conveying that message.
David Lamb, NTD News, California.
The White House is amid a major transformation this Christmas, one that President Trump has said been desired for over 150 years. Construction is underway on a new White House State Ballroom, replacing the heavily renovated East Wing with a world-class space for official events with zero taxpayer dollars involved. Let's take a look.
You probably hear the beautiful sound of construction to the back. You hear that sound? Oh, that's music to my ears. I love that sound.
The White House undergoing its most ambitious transformation in decades, changing the site of the East Wing into a brand new state ballroom.
Everything out there is coming down, and we're replacing it with one of the most beautiful ballrooms that you've ever seen. Here's your White House. Here's the West Wing, and here's the East Side, which has been tinkered with for years and years and years. And they had originally a very beautiful building. They called it the East Wing, but that was sort of semi-knocked down about 5 times and changed and redone and everything else.
Funded by President Trump and private donors, the estimated $300 to $400 million project continues a presidential tradition of renovating the White House, from Roosevelt's additions to Truman's major renovations.
They want to make sure everything is absolutely beautiful. You can see the kind of interiors that we're talking about. That's an interior of the ballroom, and it's the highest level. And you see it goes beautifully with the White House. I mean, the mix is beautiful. So over the years, many presidents have made changes. This obviously would be the biggest change, but this was something they've wanted for at least 150 years.
Announced by President Trump in July 2025, the project replaces the heavily renovated East Wing, originally built in 1902 and expanded in 1942, with a modernized structure featuring a ballroom capable of seating up to 999 guests.
And the new one will hold 999 people, which is a difference. I say 999 because I didn't want to crack 1,000. I didn't want people to get concerned because that's getting big. But we're going to have we'll have the most beautiful ballroom in the country.
Designed in classical style to harmonize with the executive residence and connected by a glass bridge, the president says the new addition will provide the finest venue in the country for state dinners and official events, ending the need for temporary pavilions and allowing the White House to host larger gatherings with grace and dignity. Throughout construction, some historic elements, including the cornerstone, columns, and fixtures, have been preserved and documented for potential reinstallation. Reporting from the White House, Mario Tsu, NTD News.
The Christmas season is bringing new life to an ancient Roman amphitheater in Croatia. The historic site now doubles as an ice rink, welcoming skaters to train in a magical setting. Let's take a look.
Pula's amphitheater in Croatia is where ancient Romans watched gladiators battle it out for their entertainment. But for Christmas 2025, the gladiators are out and ice skaters are in. The ancient arena has been transformed into an ice rink, complete with sparkling Christmas decor.
Roller skating has been popular in Pula for many, many years. 100 years at least, people say. But competitive roller skating that we have developed and which we now have is dating back to 1982.
One group of women is making good use of it to practice their favorite hobby, dubbing themselves the Chicks from Padanaggio. They're avid roller skaters, and doing their routines on ice brings a festive magic to the activity. The women have been roller skating together since early childhood.
We participated in various European competitions and even in one world competition. We also participate in the European competition Amphora, which takes place here in Pula.
After completing high school, many of the group members left Pula to study in other towns. They started families and no longer had much time to practice or compete.
Now we typically gather twice a week, or as frequently as our other obligations allow us. Before the Amphora competition, we gather more often because we need to prepare the choreography, we need to prepare for the show. I can say for myself and for my colleagues that this love that we feel for the sport cannot be compared to anything else. It is indescribable, it is intangible.
In the 1980s, children on roller skates could be seen all around Pula. It was a popular activity in the area, and these women are now trying to revive an interest in the sport they love.
A stunning worldwide competition is whittled down to the cream of the crop in landscape photography. Take a look.
Just in time for the holidays, take a look at the best of the best from a worldwide photography competition aimed at highlighting talented and artistic eyes with a knack for lush landscapes. These are some of the impressive finalist images from the 12th Annual International Landscape Photographer of the Year competition. This year's contest saw more than 3,600 submissions from photogs all around the world who labored to cast light on the breadth and beauty of some of the world's most stunning natural vistas. There are too many highlights to name, as all of the artists captured simply spectacular views of earth, sea, and sky. However, all three were collected in the same striking shot by an Austrian artist who took the overall winning prize for Best Photograph of the Year. And it was an American's beautiful, bountiful body of work that won overall for Best Landscape Photographer of the Year. More of the incredible winner and finalist submissions can be viewed in the online ebook at internationallandscapephotographer.com. Finally, we leave you with a holiday-esque landscape shot from sunny Arizona, which probably isn't having a white Christmas anytime soon, but is showing no less holiday spirit with a giant 40-foot inflatable elf perched on the side of a spire in Scottsdale. The 125-foot spire was originally built to honor legendary architect Frank Lloyd Wright, but for the season, it's been transformed into what KNXV reports may be one of the largest elf-on-the-shelf installations in the world. Happiest of holidays, everyone.
With Christmas officially a wrap, it's time to prepare for New Year's Eve celebrations. One of the most iconic is the one in Times Square. This morning, the giant 7-foot-tall 2026 numbers were officially installed, lit up, and tested for the first time, along with the famous Times Square ball that ushers in the new year. This year, the numbers will display an array of colors and patterns, and after midnight, the numbers will light up red, white, and blue to mark the nation's 250th anniversary. The average rate on a 30-year U.S. mortgage ticked down this week to the lowest level since late October. Is it a good time to buy new homes in the coming year? We have more news after this break.